Lee, it looks like you're opening the show today. Well, you're back in, which means it's Monday and it's time to talk about nutrition.
Don't the weeks fly by?
I know, it just feels like 10 minutes ago that you were here last. Yep. Yeah, good weekend?
I did, thank you very much. Lovely. And yourself?
Yeah, really
Feeling
good.
a bit sore here.
Yes, did a run, a bit stiff, but it's okay.
That's cool. Well done.
Yeah, so what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I thought last time we talked a lot about trends, haven't we? Over the last few weeks, we've talked about all the different types of diets that are out there. And today I'd just like to talk about what dietitians can do about helping you find the gap between what you're doing and what feels comfortable with what you actually are needing. You know, dietitians can close that gap. We're pretty concerned about the health in New Zealand at the moment of men.
Right.
I think we need to say something about that because they say about 66% of our current population of adults are either obese or overweight. That's 66%, and a great deal of those are men.
That's a huge percentage, isn't it?
A bit worrying.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think men are very good at looking after themselves, to be honest. There's high rates of depression, also a lot of heart disease, diabetes, and of course now we're thinking about prostate because it's Prostate Awareness Month, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we just need to help men, I think, look after themselves. They're very good at being mates to everybody else but themselves.
Yeah, think about themselves last.
Yep. Don't go to the doctors very often.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you look at studies of men and women, why men don't do so well as women is they eat quite differently.
Right.
Yep. So when men get together, they tend to have a lot more saturated fat in their diet than women do.
Okay. Women eat a lot of sugar though when they get together sometimes. That seems
comes
to be a
through
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the chips. It's the extra meat that they eat.
Yeah.
And they get a lot more salt in their diets from all the bacon and actual meat is a major source of salt in our diet. People don't realise that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, especially bacon, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And the salt that they throw on their crisps and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
So if men are getting into takeaways, the message there is if you're going to have chips, go for the big ones because those very tiny shoestrings greater surface area for fat to be collecting and also salt.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. So well, it's coming to summer though, and a lot of people do have barbecues.
Yeah.
You know, in summer someone have barbecues 3 or 4 nights a week.
Yep.
And you know, you're frying up some food and you know, chips, salads, and steak on the barbie.
True.
How do you get around that?
I think the thing is you have to really look at your meat portions and say, if this is your hand, you know, half of it should be meat. Especially if you're on...
no, that's not good.
We don't do so
well. Vinny's just walked in and he's going...
The point is it comes down to if you need to lose weight, you need to reduce your meat intake. That's not cutting it out. If you're able to eat meat, you should. Meat is a good thing, but it's just a matter of men tend to not trim the fat off, you know, which is what women do. And meat is already 50% fat, so it's all marbled through the meat, otherwise you wouldn't be able to get your teeth into it. So I think the big message is about barbecues is enjoy the bread, enjoy the salads, have the potatoes and those things, but if you can cut down on the meat and bring in more vegetables onto your barbie. So, you know, maybe bring in fish too a lot more into your diet, get into putting more fish on the grill.
Okay.
A lot of good ideas here. Yeah.
So are sausages really bad for salt and all that kind of thing?
They sure are, and they've got a lot of extra fat. I think the best way to go for sausages is those little ones that are about the size of a Cheerio.
Oh, yes.
So you get your smattering of sausage, but you're getting also into kebabs as another way of, you know, sparing out the meat.
Okay.
But I think that the main element of men's diet is trying to cut down on the meat and look at the types of health problems that they've got. Most of it is because they put a lot of weight around the central area of their body.
Yeah.
You know, the gap between your nipples and your navel, that's where you mainly store, you've got your gallbladder, liver and pancreas. They're the main organs that relate to fat and sugar digestion.
Right.
And so the more fat you get around those organs, it's harder for them to work.
Yeah.
And as you get older, those organs don't actually secrete as much bile acids and salts and all the enzymes your body needs to break fat and sugar down. They don't secrete as much of those things as you get older. So
hang on, you're saying also that the more fat you store, the less your body can cope with that.
That's right.
Oh no! So it's like a
double whammy.
Exactly. Catch-22 almost.
That's
so
really.
It gets worse and worse. So if someone is maybe going, well, look, I am already overweight, or maybe I'm eating too much meat and too much sodium in my diet, how can they reverse that?
I think awareness is first of all the main thing. In their daily effort, no matter what men seem to do, they like to measure things. You know, I was thinking about this. I've worked a lot with men, and I have to say that men are the most successful at weight reduction.
Yeah?
They are. I've had a huge amount of success with men. And I think it's because in their daily effort at work, no matter what they're doing, they measure things. And they have KPIs, you know, if they're in an office job, they've got ideas about what their income should be like, you know, financially. They look at things like if they're out in the field, if they're on the farm, every day men are doing measurements, but they don't realise is actually if you apply some of that measurement and put KPIs into your eating, you can soon successfully manage to lose your weight, get your cholesterol down without having to cut everything out. And I think men tend to be all or nothing.
Yes.
They're all onto a diet thing and they do that for about a week or something and then they come off. But if they actually get the right instruction and learn how to do it, very quickly, 10 Ks in 3 months is not over the top. It's very easy to achieve that, especially with men, once you teach them how.
Okay, so if someone's watching and they're going, what's a KPI?
It's a key performance indicator, sorry.
Right.
We use them in everything, really, particularly in business. People have key things they look at for success.
Yeah.
And you can do that with diet as well.
Okay.
And that's why I think it can be successful. So at the moment, we've got the situation in New Zealand. Okay, we've got overweight men, they've got a lot more diabetes and heart disease, and now we're getting concerned about prostate. We do know that men do best when they're in couples. Whether it's single sex or with females, whatever, they need to have that company and that unity. And they seem to think too that men do better as couples because they've always got somebody on their back to go and get some help. You know, go to the doctor and, you know, should you be eating that or not? So, you know, women don't do so well, by the way.
Oh, really? Wait,
we tend to get affected by what they're eating. So,
so women are actually worse off health-wise
in a couple situation. Yeah,
really?
They can be.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a lot of sabotaging can go on, but men definitely do better than by themselves. However, I'm aware that there are a lot of men out there who do live alone, and I think for these sort of people who are in a sort of situation where they've got to fend for themselves, I think if they're not good at cooking, they should really get into, you know, My Food Bag and groups like that where food's available and on tap, because that way it's all arranged for you and delivered and all that sort of.
Makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, it's like, well, especially if someone's single and they're working a job, they've got the money. It's like, well, why don't I just buy takeaways or eat out?
Funny, that's what they do. And unfortunately, that's where the greatest source of saturated fat can come. So if you're looking at a takeaway, a healthy one would be things like where you've got bread base. So hamburgers actually are quite good. If you've got a beef burger in there and then you might have some pineapple and some mushrooms and some tomato and lettuce. So you're stacking it up with more vegetables as opposed to going meat, cheese, meat, cheese. You know?
Yes.
The idea is to try and get as much vegetable as you can into your diet. And the good news is that, in fact, in the last research that we've done in surveys, we see that men's vegetable intake is slowly starting to go up.
Okay.
Their smoking's going down, which is good, and they are trying to do a lot more exercise.
Yeah.
My feeling is that men underestimate how much they really need. And as I said before, it's all on or it's all off. They either eat too much or they don't eat enough. So it's not really about the volume of what you eat, it's the quality of what you eat.
Yeah.
And I find that even people who are very overweight, who look as if they've eaten a huge amount of food, they may be, but they're not actually getting enough of the right things that really will make them control body weight and be healthy.
Okay, so I have a question then, and this is kind of tricky, but I'm sure that you've seen this happen. So if let's say someone's like, oh, you know, that's exactly my partner or my boyfriend or my husband, but they don't want to nag, because I don't think I've met a single guy or person that likes being nagged. How do you approach that?
I think you're really onto it.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is put people down.
Yeah.
You really actually need to listen very much to what you're talking about. You know, it's very easy to just it's off the top of your head comments of, oh, pull your stomach in, or you don't look good in that, or, you know, I think in actual fact, men or women, we just respond really well to praise.
Yeah.
And if you spend the whole time putting people down, then they're not going to feel good about themselves. So I think whether you're with a same-sex person or otherwise, what you need to do is encourage to pick out the good things that people are doing and say, you know, so that people start feeling happier and better in themselves. Pick out on their talents, especially. I think everyone's got good in them and they've got creativity, and I think we need to try and nurture that as much as we can.
Okay, so relating directly to food then, is that, you know, picking out saying, oh, that actually looks like a really good meal, or...
Yeah, we need to catch people when they do
those
things right, rather than always catching them when they're doing things wrong.
Yeah.
And I think most of the research with couples goes, women want their partners to be, you know, a bit healthier. They've actually got to make them feel good about themselves first, so they want to get out there and make changes.
Right.
And I mean, if they're already doing 30 minutes of exercise, I think that's great. We need to just try and lengthen that. So probably the best thing is to lead by example. You can't actually change other people's behaviour, but what you can do is be an example yourself for what should happen. And I think that's a good thing. I think the other thing I want to talk about today, if I may, is a bit about prostate cancer, because it's Prostate Awareness Month here in New Zealand. We know that we lose 600 men every year through prostate cancer, and it's terrible. They're fathers and brothers and sons of people, aren't they? And there's as many people die from prostate cancer, men do, as women die of breast cancer. So it's the main thing for men, and one of the biggest reasons is they don't go to the doctor.
Right.
And they don't go as often as women because we go there for our babies and our children and all that sort of thing. But men tend to not seek help as much and as frequently as they should. So they roll up to their doctor and have a wellness check, get a cholesterol done, get your blood pressure done, have a blood test which will quickly prove whether there's problems or indicators there for any type of cancer. And then once you've done that, if you are overweight, get some help. It's far better to fix it now than wait as the years go by for that weight to compound. It's much harder because, as I said earlier, body's not working as hard for you as it is when you're younger. So that's not to say it's never too late, but you just got to start now and get cracking. Exercise.
So back to, if men aren't, maybe doing enough for their own health, the amount of people coming to you, what's sort of the ratio of men to women?
Oh, actually, it's probably about 75% women.
Yeah. Okay.
We do see, I think the men that do come, though, are more successful. And often they come because they want sports nutrition. And that's great because, to my mind, I think a lot of men are out there doing very physically demanding jobs. They're in construction, farming. Even if they're pushing their pen all day, they often are out cycling or doing other exercise. I think men really do have pride in themselves. And a lot of guys really want to get fitter. And so they need a program to do that. And so I do a lot of work in sports nutrition. So I see that even the day-to-day activities that people are doing, exercising more, as being a form of sports nutrition, and they need to learn how to eat extra. So you can eat a lot of food without putting on weight. The important thing is to make sure you've got enough to get through.
Sure. So you're talking about maybe if someone's like working in construction. There's a lot of people working in construction right now, and it's a physically demanding job. So do they almost need to be looking at sports nutrition as opposed to just their normal everyday
And that doesn't
food?
mean just going and getting a high energy drink. That's not sports nutrition.
Actually, we should really talk about sports nutrition sometime.
We will.
I'd be really keen for that.
Let's do that.
That would be
before
good.
your next run.
Yes, absolutely. We did have a question, which is kind of along these same lines, which we didn't quite get to last week, and that's from a guy called Tom Maxtone. He says, I'm 20 years old, but I still haven't filled out yet. It's a bit awkward because all my mates are so much bigger than me. How can I pack on some muscle and weight?
I know, and I hear this quite a lot, believe it or not. I think it's always, everyone wants to be like somebody else.
Right.
So I'd start out by saying, you have to be very careful that you just don't pack on a lot of weight if you're short for your, as a person. You have to be careful that you don't measure your body shape and weight and size against somebody else because they may be taller and their needs may be greater. You don't know also within yourself, are there any physical things that you need to attend to first? Right. So before anybody wants to actually physically put on weight, muscle up and all that sort of thing, I get a lot of 17, 18-year-old boys at school, who want to get muscled up to a rugby or whatever. I think their first thing is go and have a physical check first of all, because if you've already got a high cholesterol and you start whacking in extra protein or extra calories, you can actually do a lot of damage. Right. So find out if you're healthy enough to do that first of all, and then get help. And I think the important thing is it's very easy to match yourself against somebody else, but your talents might be better than theirs in something else. So sometimes people have to look at the codes in which they're competing in with sport to make sure that in fact that their body shape and size is suitable to that sport. Yeah. And I know, for instance, the All Blacks, there are a lot of the guys, even people like Dan Carter, they're all sort of 100 kilo, so they might be shorter, but they still have got the muscle weight there. Yeah. The important thing is always to keep an eye on those fat ratios and making sure that they're not overdoing it, and that it's lean body mass you're developing, not extra fat mass. Yes. And that's what dietitians do. We monitor that and help people. Okay. So I think with Tom, the quick answer to him is really go and get a medical checkout first. Yeah. Work out what your body mass index should be. It doesn't mean to say you can't perform outside your body mass, but you've got to be very careful that you don't overdo it. The other thing I see, particularly with young men, when they're still growing and their bones are still growing, it's very easy to overdevelop their muscles. Right. So you've got a bone growing along here, okay, and then you start developing a really enlarged muscle. The attachments of where the muscle connects to the bone can become pinged if you're not careful because the bone's still growing. Oh. And so I have seen this with young sprinters who have gone out there and overdeveloped their calf muscles when their main femur bones, their leg bones are still growing. Yes. They can end up with very bad injury. painful, it can whack them out for a whole entire season. So you have to be careful that you actually get good advice regarding your development of muscle, especially in his case if he wanted to develop stronger muscles. He needs to have a really good program, exercise program as well as a dietary program to do that.
Okay, wow.
The other thing,
Great
just before we finish off about this, is regarding men is there is a lot of good evidence out there now that the Mediterranean diet can really help men to prevent prostate cancer because it's high in tomato. And there are actually vegetables that the Mediterranean people eat that actually can protect men from prostate cancer. And lycopene is one particular nutrient that's found in tomatoes. So having tomatoes in sauces, and I don't mean just tomato sauce, I mean like pasta sauces. And if you are going to have juice, get into tomato juice, but without the vodka. It's concentrated tomato a couple of times a week is believed to be really helpful. And all the advantages of a Mediterranean diet with the fish and low-fat cheeses and less meat, lots more vegetables is a healthy thing. And that's something that even Tom could be having.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so you've answered a whole lot of questions on that one. What do you want to talk about next week, just to completely throw it to you?
I'm not sure. I think it's very much important for our audience to tell us what they'd like to hear.
Yeah.
We've talked about men and we can talk about women next week or children or anything at all. You wanted to talk about sports nutrition, so maybe that's what we should talk about.
Yeah.
So perhaps we should ask the audience to, what are the things that you're worried about? Would you like me to just talk about food or health issues? What's worrying you? That's the key, isn't it?
Okay.
Because this is what people of Christchurch, you want them to get fit and healthier. So come on, everyone.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Lee, and
Okay.
we'll get some responses on, what do we want people to talk to us about.
Sure.
So that if you want to know, if you've got any questions, any topics, go to our Facebook page, The Daily Fix NZ, and you can just comment on there, send us a message, and we'll talk to Lee about that next week.
Sounds
so
good.
we'll see you then.
Cool.